Hello and welcome to Paint Yourself into the Picture, where we design our best life and open the doors to the best picture of our future. I'm Reba Linker, best-selling author and coach, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy to introduce you today, my guest, Diva Carla Sanders. Diva Carla guides spiritual women entrepreneurs through their midlife sacred quest into the mystery and power of their sexuality. She believes that when you are sexually and orgasmically fulfilled, you are an unstoppable power for good. My 2-minute teaching. It's a simple one. I just wanted to say that I bought these flowers for myself yesterday. Aren't they beautiful? What nice thing will you do for yourself today? It's a very special day. What will you do to tell yourself you love yourself and you're happy to be alive in this gorgeous, gorgeous day? The nice thing about these flowers is not only are they so gorgeous, but I get to share them with you. So we've got some roses. I don't know the name of this one. This is a hydrangea. And I think this one here is a beautiful chrysanthemum, some baby's breath, should not be ignored, and some greenery. So that's the teaching. Do something nice for yourself today. And in the comments below, please let us know, what did you do for yourself today? It doesn't have to be something you buy. It could be something you do for yourself. It could be some time that you take for yourself. Let us know how this teaching affected your day. Thank you. And now, it is my great pleasure to welcome my guest, Diva Carla Sanders, who I've known on Facebook for quite a while now, but have never met in person. So we're having this pleasure together, the audience and myself, and welcome, Diva Carla.
Hello, Reba. Thank you for having me. And thank you for bringing the flowers.
Yes, you know, I really kind of tapped into my own divine feminine energy. And I used to be sitting behind a desk. And I was like, no, that's not the energy that I want. I want to feel feminine. I want to feel like I'm having tea with a friend. So I'm going to offer you a spot of tea, and I'm going to pour for myself. And I feel that divine magic, that when I pour this liquid into my cup, the magic is flowing between us as well. And that we're going to bring forth some amazing information that's going to help the viewers. So tell me. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say you've already started it. We could actually finish right here, because when you use the metaphor of pouring tea into your cup, that is one of the main things that sexual energy does for women. It replenishes our cup. And I know you're all about self-love, and self-love in all its forms replenishes, fills our cup. So you begin every one of these sessions with the supreme metaphor for what women need to pay attention to.
Yes, thank you for that. And I feel it. I mean, it was so magical. My teaching in a previous episode was about switching off of a plastic water bottle, you know, like guzzling water, like a truck driver, to this very feminine thing, and how magical it's been for me to create the atmosphere. And it's so funny how these little things like the flowers for the teapot, you know, women are especially sensitive to that, I think.
Yeah.
So tell me, what first, how did you discover the divine feminine? What woke you up to this whole train of, you know, thought that you're on here with what you teach and offer to the world?
The divine feminine was a journey. I was raised in the most patriarchal of conservative Christian traditions. So God was always a man. And the feminine was never very important. The feminine was kind of like frills and flirting and what you did to get a man to do what you wanted to do, wanted him to do. There was no knowledge of the feminine, really. And in my 40s, my marriage had ended, and I was rather desperate. And it was about my sexuality, the wounds of growing up that way and having no knowledge of sexuality. and how it impacted my marriage and my femininity and my adulthood. And all of those things, it became the most important thing for me to heal that. I thought I was broken, so I sought to be healed. And in the course of that, working with a priestess of sacred sexuality and finding other aspects of my spiritual path, the divine woke up in me. She awoke in me. And at first, there was resistance. You know, God's a man. I'm not sure about God being a woman and God being feminine. And then one day, it's like it clicked in. It was natural. She was here. And we've been growing our awareness, our relationship, my understanding of what she means for all of us, male and female. She's, one of the things that I teach people is that if you ask to see the face of God, he will show you the feminine because he loves her so. They're never separate. She's never been gone.
When you're talking, my heart just melts. What a beautiful experience. It actually, I happen to be in the Jewish religion, which is, of course, the basis for Christianity as well. So I think in the Jewish tradition, they honor the Shekinah, which is the female aspect of God. And, you know, we have a Sabbath every Saturday, actually from Friday night to Saturday night. And the idea of the Sabbath is to welcome the Shekinah. In fact, we sing a song every Friday night to welcome. And it's as if she's putting this mantle of light over the home. And she resides in every home, all during the Sabbath. And everything is a delight. And, you know, that's our assignment, is make the Sabbath a delight. You relax, you rest, you don't work, you enjoy good food. So what you were speaking of, beautiful, just beautiful. So, wow, where should we go from here? It's very interesting because I feel the divine feminine, I don't have it tied so much to the sexual aspect, but that's your work. So maybe you can talk to us a little, and that's why I invited you, because I thought it's very fascinating and I'm sure very healing to have that connection between the divine feminine, not just as a way of being, but in terms of the female body, because we are women with female bodies. So if you want to make that connection or deepen that understanding for us, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes. What I learned, and this is very ancient teaching, any teaching around ancient sacred sexuality, whether it has a Judaic, Middle Eastern, Egyptian, Indian, Buddhist, indigenous, it's everybody up until the last 2,000 years had teachings about sacred sexuality in which the divine feminine and the divine masculine were embodied and celebrated through our sexuality and our coming together as partners in lovemaking. So this is really old, and this is about remembering that. So its essence is, I guess one way to describe it is to describe what we lost when we cut ourselves off the neck and we became all about the mind, and the body became a source of separation, of sin, of taking of evil, of distraction, whatever. It's, the body is just something to carry our heads around, our minds around. And yeah, sexuality is the voice of the feminine within us. She, the goddess, dwells in our sexual region, our belly, our pelvis, our womb. think about this. When new beings are ready to come to Earth, how do they get here? What's their portal?
Yes.
They come in through, yes, there's a biological system and structure for it, but they come through the portal of the womb. Where do they come from? The cosmos. They come from, non-being into being, or heaven into earth, or it's a miracle. And so our sexual area, our womb, the ovaries with our eggs and our hormones, and our vulva, vagina, our sexual part, because it's all part of that process. We receive the masculine energy to get the baby going, and we let the baby come into the world through our genital sexual part. It's the place of the great miracle. And so to be connected in the fullness, not just about what you do with your partner or those few times in our lives when we're giving birth, those of us who do, but every single moment of every day, we are dwelling with that energy alive and active in us. And that's where we fire it up. That's where we fill it up in our sexuality.
Interesting. And sometimes when people talk about sacred feminine, they say it's not a man-woman thing. Everybody has feminine energy. Everybody has masculine energy. So does this apply to a man as well, or is this just for a woman who has all the parts that you're talking about? And what if she's menopause, or she's had a hysterectomy?
All right. Which of those questions do you want me to address? I'll take them in order.
Fast and Furious.
All right. Fast and Furious. It applies to men. And now, of course, we have the whole gender spectrum. That's another 15 shows you could do on that.
Yes.
So our physiology around male and female, and our soul that's male or female, or however we want to describe it, we're learning. We are remembering once again how to talk about this. It's not new. It's just been suppressed. So yes, it does work with men. Their energy is very different. They're the embodiment of the divine masculine, who is in consort with the feminine within them. Mm-hmm. And it's why they also are drawn to meet the feminine in another. And sexuality is not implicated there. It's true of all of us. Mm-hmm. So that's the simple. That perhaps you'll have a man who can discuss that on. I don't know if you have someone else wants to go more deeply into that aspect on a future show. In terms of menopause hysterectomies, you can remove hysterectomy simple. You can remove the organ. You cannot remove the temple. The energy remains.
I'm so glad that I asked.
Yeah.
I think it's so important for people to say, well, does that leave me out of this if I've had that or anything like that? So it's a kind of spiritual presence.
It is an energetic presence it takes the form of the womb, but things happen and the womb has to leave. And it's also, I'm actually, to go back to that business of transgender, I struggled with this for a while. I didn't quite know what to make of it because I teach a practice called womb centering. And it finally occurred to me, those women have an energetic womb, even if they were born in a masculine body. And so they can activate the energetic womb through tapping into this divine feminine teaching.
So why don't you talk to me about, you had a process for the womb center practice that you mentioned to me earlier. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that with our viewers, and so I can learn as well.
Yeah. Womb centering is it's activating the energy of the womb, and I'm going to actually speak briefly about menopause because I am menopause grandmother, Crohn's phase of my life, and we actually get more powerful. Our wombs become more connected to the cosmos once we're finished with the hormonal cycle that's connected with birthing and raising human children. So what happens, and it could happen, you could teach a young child probably from puberty on to womb center, but it becomes especially important for mature women and elder women to connect with that light. So this process activates a light that is in the center of the womb and the divine connection, and we connect to the earth. We recognize a connection to the earth that never stops, but we just activate it and become aware of it and grateful for it in that moment. And then it's actually an unfolding process with many layers that you can learn as you practice over time. But connecting with the body, activating pleasure centers, generating healing energy, connecting with the cosmos, both through the womb and through the central channel, through the crown. This picture behind me is a painting I'm doing. It's not finished yet, but it's of a vision I had. That is the people of women who are womb centering together and generating this cone of power to create a very powerful healing energy, probably in response to a need on the planet, like something has called them together. And that is what I believe is important for women. And I don't know if you can see them, but you can see little white areas in the corners. Those are the swords of the men, the masculine, create a circle of protection while the women are doing this work. They're not left out, they're very important.
So let me ask, why is this important now in this time of Earth and time of planet?
As you are well aware, Reba, the feminine is coming. She's waking up from what feels like a slumber. She's waking us up, male and female. And she's probably generating a lot of the things that we see happening with transgender, where people are, gender itself is becoming an issue. And I think that's a symptom, a sign of the divine feminine saying, I am here. I am ready to work with my consort, the masculine. It's time for us all to pull together. And the real work is to heal the planet, who sustains us, our feminine Mother Earth, and to do work in the cosmos. And we human beings, each one of us, is an instrument of cosmic energy, and we are in conflict. We are suffering. And part of it is because of the imbalance that we've had over the past several thousand years. So now, this why it's important.
Yes, I see that, and I see that you're a leader in this, and I want to know something that I think is important for the viewers to know. What did it take? And I know that this path isn't always the easiest for you. It's a little bit maybe out there for some people, and but you're doing it with a lot of courage and grace. So what did it take for you to find your voice?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. And what it took for me, I'm still finding it. I speak out and then I hide again.
Oh, what did I just
And one of the beautiful things is that the womb and the voice are connected. And when women are connected to their sexuality and to that divine feminine temple, they have the courage to speak. The words form on their tongue, and whether they, and they start singing them out or writing them or painting them. And the other great power, which is really important, is when we do this together, we are strong. We create one voice out of many voices, and that is absolutely necessary.
Mm. I love that answer. And, so many women feel silenced, feel that they're not fully self-expressing. They're still carrying around childhood stories about children who should be seen and not heard, or childhood stories about they don't have anything worth contributing. So there's a lot of woundedness around self-expressing. So thank you for sharing that answer. I have another question. I think we have time for one more. In a way, we started out our conversation, you were talking about what we're missing, as a way of describing what divine feminine is. And this is I don't know, funny question, but let's say we rediscover the divine feminine as a culture more widely. What are we going backwards? How is this different from 3,000 years ago when we were a more matriarchal society? Where are we going with this?
Well, I would question whether matriarchy ever existed and what that meant and whether it was any better than patriarchy. So I wasn't there. I can't talk about that. I will direct people to the work of Riane Eisler. Her work with what she calls the Dominator Society, her name for patriarchy, and the, what's it called, the Partnership Society. So we are not going backwards. We are going forward, and that opens up a bigger question of, well, how will the world change economically, technologically, socially, politically? And I believe very simply we get to make it what we want to. And those of us who are living in a partnership with divine masculine, divine feminine, and one another, our voices need to be very powerful in creating what comes forward.
Wonderful. I love that point about rather than a domination, it's a partnership. And I know that the divine feminine entails a different modality than a masculine form of society, and that's a wonderful point. What are some other things that are maybe, masculine is this way, divine feminine would be, and I love the idea of partnership, because that gives people also a practical entree in, okay, so, because not everybody's going to run off and, do rituals, and, not everyone's going to go give up their whole lives to do this, although they might. But what are some things people can apply to their life, let's say?
One, as we've already talked about, is start loving and expressing your sexuality. And if you have difficulty around that, do some work with either a professional or just start studying it. Don't be as shy about checking the books out, purchasing information. Do whatever you need to do to let this body absolutely express itself, herself, himself. And that will change everything. That flows into your life in really beautiful ways. The other is eat as close to the land as possible. There are a lot of things that have been created in our society that are using fossil fuels or processing our food in ways that are not good for our bodies, and becoming more locally connected to your community, the land, nature, your food. And those are really basic ways you can get started, and then other opportunities will show up. And life may bring us opportunities. I mean, there is not to be doomsaying, but some of the things we take for granted could change in the next 20 years, and we will have to know a different way of doing things. So that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I believe that the direction we're going is largely unsustainable, and we need to come back to earth I have a very strong relationship with Mother Earth. I wrote a book called The Compost Heroes, which is about which is about composting for children. So I have a love relationship with the earth. And, you know, it does seem that this masculine way has been, you know, the skyscrapers going into the sky, everything trying, you know, even ballet, dance form I studied, which really, you know, I think it's gorgeous, of course, but it's, you know, it's all about flying and leaving the connection from the earth, you know, standing on a point, you know, the weightlessness. And what you're saying is come back down.
Yes, come to earth. That is the work of the feminine. And I'm thinking of your tradition of the Sabbath, however you want to call it. That is a beautiful teaching to have a day of rest, connecting with family, connect with the earth, connect with yourself. Slow down, relax.
It exists in a lot of cultures. There are things that include the divine feminine, but I think you're right. It needs people like you to bring it forward more. You know, you're in your way. How can people reach you if what you've said connects with the viewers in terms of the work that you do? How can they reach you? How can they find you?
I have a website called orgasmicalchemy.com.
Great.
And my email address is divacarla@orgasmicalchemy.com. So I have a lot of writings from many years back. You can go and peruse and see if you like what I'm saying and reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you.
Wonderful. It's been just an amazing opportunity to chat with you, Diva Carla, and thank you so much for being my guest on Paint Yourself into the Picture. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Reba.
Thank you. And I'd like to also thank you, our viewers, for being with us on this episode of Paint Yourself into the Picture. If you'd like to connect with me further, I invite you to join my Facebook group, which is called Leaders in Self-Love, or to look at my website, which is rebalinker.com, where you can find out about coaching, courses, books, and more. If you'd like to be a guest on Paint Yourself into the Picture, you can apply at bcntv.com/paint yourself into the picture/apply. I'd love for you to subscribe to the show, and that way you won't miss any of the juicy fun coming up. Remember to like the video and leave your comments below if you like what you're watching. Join us again next week, and remember to paint yourself into the picture.